Hello, I'm outside a college campus. I wanted to talk about, right now I want to discuss feminism, masculinism, I think it's called masculinism, and I actually want to discuss the flaws in both of them. I will probably have a stronger emphasis in this video toward feminism, since it is the first and foremost original gender-oriented political thought. It is the original organized, structural, philosophical thought of gender inequality, or a philosophy, or what I should call basically a philosophy, a philosophical claim towards equality between straight men and straight women. Because, not to be heterosexist, male and female inequality is generally, it's almost virtually applicable, or it can virtually be almost entirely applied to the straight world. Okay, gender inequality pertains mostly to the straight world. Now, some homosexual, gay male, and lesbian perceptions often pertain or often demonstrate misogyny and misandry in the straight world, but misandry and misogyny, which feminism and masculinism, I'm trying to articulate, are trying to eradicate, virtually pertain to the straight world, right? So, what is my big critique of feminism, or what is my biggest criticism of feminism? And I would say that my biggest problem with feminism is not their claim of women inequality. It's not their claim of a patriarchal society in many respects. My biggest problem with feminism is that it often cannot and will not respect the flip side of inequality, the flip side of gender inequality, which is male inequality. There's many reasons for this, but I want to just give you some examples of how feminism, in many ways, or feminist theory, in many ways, ironically backhand, not backhand, but ironically gives in some ways a condescending respect towards disadvantages that are directed toward men. Let me give you an example. Let me give you one concept where it's going to be proven that if you flip the genders around, it will be seen as inequality, or it will be seen as inequality. It will be seen as a disadvantage towards women, and how men are benefiting from privilege and responsibility. Let's just look at this core concept of responsibility. Now, if we made the claim, if someone makes the claim that women are given a higher responsibility in raising children, women are given a higher responsibility in raising children than men. So, for example, wives have a greater responsibility to raise their children than men. Now, that's not a explicit, people do not directly say that women have to be more responsible in raising children than men. They do not say that, but let's just say they explicitly carry out this, explicitly articulate this latent theme that women should be more responsible in raising the family than men. That is considered misogyny. That is considered unfair, because you're placing a greater amount of responsibility towards one parent when the responsibility should be equal. Okay, and many feminists would say that shows patriarchy. However, I'm saying in the modern times, we're not going to talk about the 18th century, the 16th century. However, so let's reverse the roles. If we say that men should carry the greater responsibility in raising a family, many feminists will say that shows patriarchy, because you're not giving the woman the chance to control the house, or you're not giving the woman the chance to with this responsibility is respect. So if you're less responsible in raising a family, then you're less valued in raising the family. This is the interpretation, which is valid. Don't get me wrong, it's valid. But I hope you can see the point. What I think is happening is that it doesn't matter if misandry occurs. A feminist who looks through a feminist lens, and solely through a feminist lens, and solely through a feminist presupposition, will only see that as patriarchy or as male privilege. Okay. It's almost like you're trying to find I wouldn't say they're trying to find a disadvantage. I think that is just their mindset. They come from their worldview, which is valid. A feminist worldview is valid, but the problem with a exclusive feminist worldview is that it almost condescends, or almost insults or desensitizes the disadvantages of men in this world. Okay, so let's just go on to this responsibility thing. Okay, and I can trace it back to Adam and Eve. A critique of Adam and Eve. Now, I don't know the specifics, but one writer was saying that Adam was perceived as having the greater responsibility for the original sin. Now, there's two ways a feminist critic can attack this. Now, there's one legitimate way of interpreting more responsibility, because if Adam had more responsibility and they're in a union, a feminist theory can plausibly assert that Eve is the property of Adam, or Eve is somewhat like a child to Adam. So all of Eve's actions, Adam is directly responsible for. So that, if you look at it through that lens, that could be seen as clearly misogyny. And not misogyny in hating women, but misogyny in mistreating women or viewing women erroneously. However, if if the meaning was that Adam is more morally responsible, simply because Adam should have more morals, or should have greater, Adam should be the exemplar of morality. Well, that says two things. One, it says that, and also it can go through a misogynistic theme too. One says that women are immoral. Hear the bell, right? Says women are immoral or less moral, so that could be a misogynistic theme. However, let's switch the roles. Let's say that Eve has greater responsibility for her immorality. Okay, what would we say then? Well, a feminist would say, analogously to the double standard, where women share explicitly a greater moral responsibility in all these sexual indiscretions. Okay, they would say that this is unfair. This is the double standard, that women are held to a higher moral standard in general. That's what a feminist theory would say. They would interpret the disadvantage, or how it disadvantages women and how it benefits men. Okay, that's what I'm kind of referring to. That type of mindset. That type of mindset, so in so many ways, kind of leaves men out of the picture when they become victims. Now, I'll give just one last example of what I'm talking about. Let's see. There was a time. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the example that I want to talk about. Yes, there it is. There was an incident in Cleveland, Ohio, where a man hit a woman in self-defense, and feminists, or I wouldn't say necessarily feminists, but people that support a feminist theory, applauded this man for hitting this woman and defended himself. The reason wasn't because of misandry. If he failed to do that, let's say that he failed to defend himself and allowed the woman to beat him up because you should not hit a woman, it was because of a pro-feminist theory, because that would show respect to women in general. That would show that women can defend themselves. See, that is a problem. Again, that lens that many feminists and many people that support feminist theory look through, somehow ignores the clear, blatant misandry in many instances. Does that mean that their theory was wrong? Absolutely not. Their theory is not wrong. What they're saying is not wrong. The problem is that how they're saying it is that they're excluding, or they're making less important the misandry that would be committed if that man failed to defend himself. A misandric theme, misogyny and misandry, and I'll say this in many of my videos, are basically operating simultaneously in our society. And it may be argued, which I wouldn't be too confident to argue, this may have coexisted ever since men and women have started to live together. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that the feminist movement has to take more into account male disadvantages and not try to interpret a general patriarchal theme while ignoring the clear misandry. It's raining now, so I better close this discussion down. Thanks.